Yeah. Well, it goes this way and then it goes this way.
What?
It's an X.
I don't know what that means.
The streets are an X. It's over here on the old bus. Right down here. Right down here.
Oh, Shepherd's Park.
No, zoom in.
Did you get the?
Yeah, okay. Right there.
She's not there.
My pen.
Social media, I think.
Not
Oh,
there.
they're not?
It looked like enclave there.
I stopped at Sonic and just got
I went in there to go camping. Yeah.
ice. A little bit of Coke.
Yeah, these all can go.
And I say that, but you know,
We can't. Once they're, if
But
it's
it's
an
just-
HOA, the probability of getting an HOA to join.
Hopefully y'all answer the
Shannon.
So she wants to be here. She posted on every Facebook that she was going to be here.
One, I'd like to welcome everyone to the joint public hearing meeting, September 18th, 2023. Bring this meeting to order. It's a meeting with the Planning Board and the Board of Commissioners for the purpose of conducting a public hearing. Before we ask for the approval of the agenda, is there anyone here that's for the Park and Recs meeting? I think it's going on right now. I didn't want someone to be at the wrong meeting, but it's also being held here in this building. So everyone's in place. Thank you. Commissioner Baxter has related that she will not be attending tonight, but she will be following us online. Now, is there a motion for the adoption of the agenda?
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Miles. Second. All in favor? Motion passes. Public hearing number one tonight for conditional rezoning, ACZ 2023-04, is a request for conditional rezoning for 1.117 acre parcel at 1620 North Arundel Avenue from residential suburban R2 to heavy commercial conditional heavy commercial -C district for the development of a veterinarian clinic. I declare the public hearing open and ask staff for presentation.
Thank you, Mayor. Commissioners. So first, I'm just going to start and go over the standards for this conditional rezoning, and this is just for both the planning board and the board to keep in mind as we're going through and thinking about how this project meets these standards. So standard number one is that this project meets the health and safety and welfare of the goals of the project, that it is in an appropriate location for this project, that it is reasonable and in the public's interest, that the concept plan is consistent with the regulations laid out in the Town of Zebulon Unified Development Ordinance, and any other relevant factors that you, the board and planning board, deem relevant. So the request tonight is for a lot, for a conditional rezoning from R2 to heavy commercial conditional for the use of a veterinary clinic. So this property is located just north of Popeyes at the intersection of North Arundel and Green Pace Road. The applicant is DVM Services Realty LLC. The property owner is Julia M. Hicks. The property address is 1620 North Arundel Avenue. The acreage is 1.117 acres. The current zoning for this property is residential suburban R2, and then the proposed zoning is heavy commercial conditional. So public hearing notifications, so the signs were posted along both frontages, both along Green Pace and Arundel. Public hearing notices were mailed to the property owners within 750 feet of this property. The public hearing notice was also posted in the paper of general circulation 2 times within the Wake Weekly. And then as well, this notice was posted on the town's website. And then also just a reminder that we do have a listserv for these public hearing notifications as well as other planning related content. So feel free to sign up for that and you'll get email notifications for public hearings as well. So looking at this aerial map, as I said before, it's at the intersection of Green Pace and Arundel, and it is just north of the Popeyes. So current zoning for this, it's a R2 zoning currently, and so the applicant is requesting that it would be consistent with the heavy commercial. As you can see, the lots across the street on all sides are zoned to be heavy commercial. And as well, I wanted to point out that on the future land use plan, it shows this site to be general commercial as well as this site adjacent to the southeast, which is part of the church site. So timeline of activity, the first review was submitted on 6-1-23. The comment letters were sent out to the applicant from staff on 7-7-23. The TRC meeting for this project was held on July 12th. The second review was submitted August 1st. The comment letter was sent to applicants on August 15th. And then the joint public hearings packet submittal, so the final submittal was given on September 7th. So as we can see here, this was a pretty speedy process, and the applicants were very responsive with staff, and they were they're very responsive with staff and also very responsive to any comments that staff had and applying those to their project. So the concept plan, so this is a veterinary office with an outdoor pet exercise area. So as you can see by this site plan, there will be a right-in and a right-in off of Arundel, as well as an all-access access point off of Green Pace. And then as well, I highlighted on this slide the pet exercise area, which would be between the building and Green Pace. So the proposed building elevations, as you can see, a lot like the convenience store rezoning, we lined up the frontages, the facades to the side of the building in which they're on the site plan, so you can see how they line up. So they are not asking, the applicants are not asking for any deviations from the architectural standards, but we did want to point out a couple of things to consider when looking at these architectural standards. So the applicant has provided building articulation, which is laid out in our commercial design guidelines section, which speaks to like roof height as well as articulation out from the building as far as creating main entrances. And another thing to point out about the building articulation in particular on this building is that it is very reminiscent of a single-family residential dwelling. And as we saw in the in the future land use plan, it is just adjacent to future land use that would be a residential land use. So this would help to transition from that kind of boxy nature of other commercial sites to a more residential look. So that's something to keep in mind when looking at the architecturals, as well as we talked about with the conditional rezoning for the convenience store. This site also has fenestration, which is the both the windows and doors that are transparent, and this allows visibility into the building, which helps to be more transparent, as well as building being consistent with other designs in town. So some conditions that the applicants have proposed. So they proposed a reduction in the distance that the pet exercise zone can be from a residentially zoned parcel. And they also proposed the condition of modifying the type D buffer. So first I'm going to address the separation requirements. So they have asked for a reduction from 200 feet from a residentially zoned area for the outdoor pet exercise area to 75 feet. As well, being consistent with our use-specific standards for the outdoor exercise area, they are providing a 6-foot opaque fence to help with the screening. As well, they have, as you will see on the landscaping plan, they have provided plantings around that fence as well to help further with the screening of this outdoor area. I wanted to point out as well the location of this outdoor area being on the side of Green Pace screens it from the main corridor of Arundel, which is what we are hoping to accomplish from this. So even though they're not able to meet the 200 feet from the residential, it is more in line with our design standards for the outdoor area to be screened with the building from the main arterial roads. As well, it is providing screening from the adjacent site to the southeast. So the buffer, this is a modified type D buffer, and they're asking for a reduction of a 40-foot buffer to a 10-foot or a 20-foot buffer. And as well, they are proposing a fence for additional screening along that frontage as well. So when I talk about a modified type D buffer, they're still proposing that they have the same plantings that are required within a type D buffer. They're just reducing the width of that buffer. So they are, so the standards for the type D buffer are canopy trees, which would be spaced 4 feet per every 100 linear feet, spaced at 25 on center. And so a canopy tree in our UDO, the way that we define it, is an 8-foot tree at planting and then a 40-foot tree at maturity. And this helps to screen the horizon line as well as create that horizon line. The next tree plantings that would be required in a type D buffer are understory trees, which are spaced 8 per 100 linear feet and spaced at 15 feet off of center, on center. So an understory tree is defined in our UDO as being 4 foot at planting and then growing to a maturity of 15 to 40 feet. And so this helps to actually screen the view of the building as well as any parking or other elements on site. The last element of this buffer is the shrubs, which would be 18 inches at planting with a minimum height at maturity of 36 inches. So this really helps to fill in the bottom and fill in any gaps that remain after the other trees are planted. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is the proposed road improvements. So you may have noticed in your packet that there was no TIA required for this project. So the threshold for the TIA is 50 peak trips, so that's at peak times 50 trips, or 150 total daily trips. So this project did not reach that threshold, and so it did not require a TIA. That doesn't mean that there aren't road improvements that are required. So we do require that they construct a second lane along the Arundel Avenue frontage, and this is required through our comprehensive transportation plan, which lays out this road as being a 4-lane median divided. And so the applicant would be responsible for constructing that lane and incurring any costs that are in line with that. As well, they are required to construct sidewalk as well as a planting strip along Arundel. And this is required anywhere in town when you're building on a frontage. Another thing I wanted to bring up is that I do know that there is currently construction being done on at this intersection with our Public Works Department, and the applicants would not be responsible for contributing to that project, but they would be working with Chris Ray to make sure that they're coordinating their two projects, because these projects will be happening most likely simultaneously depending on when construction drawings get approved. So they will be working with Chris Ray as far as coordinating their construction with the town of Zebulon's construction. So that's just something to keep in mind with this project. So anyway, I just wanted to lay out what the town is responsible for. So the town would be constructing, and they are doing this project currently. They're constructing part of that turn lane, and then the existing road, they're widening it slightly, I believe. And so they are responsible for those two sections highlighted on your screen right now. And then the applicant would be responsible for what is highlighted in blue, so that second lane. So the next thing I wanted to talk about is the utility allocation policy. So this project utilized a number of different categories, and this will look slightly different than the convenience store project that you guys saw last month. So I just wanted to point out where we're seeing these points and where we're seeing these, these items listed on site. So the EV charging stations are located where this red square is. The stormwater management will be along the back corner. The fountain is located at the southwest corner of the building. The canopy, including fixed permanent seating, will be just beyond the fenced area. The drinking fountain with pet fountain will be in the corner right by the parking lot. All-weather bulletin will be right in front of Arundel, as well as the free library. Also looking at the landscaping plan, we can see the other 2 points. So the planting pollinator garden will be just beyond the, will be right next to the permanent fixed seating area, as well as just beyond the fenced-in animal exercise area. And then the installation of native shade trees are in the following locations highlighted on your screen. So again, I'm just going to go over these standards again, just so you guys can keep these in mind as you're discussing this project. Does this project meet the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of Zebulon? Is this an appropriate location for this project? Is this reasonable and in the public's interest? Is this concept plan consistent with the regulations laid out in the Town of Zebulon UDO? And any other relevant factors that you deem necessary. Staff recommends accepting public comment and referring the matter to the Planning Board for recommendation. I'm here for any questions, and as well, the applicant is here for any questions. So if you have any questions specifically for the applicant, they can answer those as well tonight.
Thank you. Any questions from the Board of Commissioners? Commissioner Laux?
Not at this time.
Commissioner Harrison?
Just out of curiosity, so this new structure and building will be the only business, so it's not like an expansion. They're just moving, correct?
Yes, they're moving. So I think their current location is further down on Arundel currently.
Right.
And so they're moving their business to this new location.
And so the other location they won't operate that in any capacity as this building?
To our understanding, they will not be, but that's a good question for the applicant.
Okay.
Do you want to answer that question now? Sorry.
Graham Smith, Landscape Architect Site Collaborative. They will be moving and leaving the other location.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Commissioner Clark?
None at this time.
Commissioner House?
No, sir, none at this time.
Hearing none. Any questions from the Planning Board? I think Ms. Alexander?
My question was just answered.
Oh,
Thank you.
okay. Mr. Lowry?
Just a couple of reasons. So I didn't really get a good understanding the reason why they wanted the buffer cut back. It's just the 40-foot would encroach into that additional parking that they're requiring, or?
Yeah, so To answer that question, they're hoping to reduce it to kind of help provide more land on site to build on. And so that's part of the reduction. And as well, if the applicant has any other reasons that they want to highlight for that reduction, but I think that's the main reason for that reduction.
Okay. The other question I had for you was the construction on Arundel. With them adding on to that scope, I understand that what's currently being done is supposed to be done near the end of the year. Is that going to delay any of that construction into the new year?
So that's a good question for Chris Ray. But to kind of answer that question, the applicant has been working with Public Works, and so they'll communicate on how those projects will happen hand in hand. But Chris might have a better answer than that, too.
At this time, we don't anticipate any delay with our town project.
Okay. And is this going to be a dedicated right turn only?
So the, well, it's going to be a dedicated right turn only into the site, but I believe the intersection will be a right, or I guess at this point in time, it will be a right only because on the other side, there hasn't been a construction of another lane. But that would change once there was another lane continuing up Arundel.
So at some point in the future, not with the current.
Not with the current plan, no.
I'm sorry, I do have a question.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea what the projected timeline is for this project? When is it going to begin, provided everything gets approved? And when is it supposed to be open? Basic curiosity.
For the animal hospital?
For the animal hospital, yes.
So it will depend on when construction drawings get approved. So once this gets approved as a conditional rezoning, then they'll be able to submit construction drawings. And so then that will go through another staff review, and that can take a varying amount of time. So it just depends on them. The applicant might have a personal timeline that they hope to keep to, that they might want to speak to, but otherwise it'll depend on when construction drawings get approved. Yeah.
Yes. Our hope is that we could start construction in the winter this year, January or so, and then be done in 6 to 8 months. And hopefully open into the summer.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I don't have any more questions, sir.
Any other questions from the planning board? Now we will take public comment. If you wish to come up and speak, come to the podium on my left. And this is anyone who wishes to speak in favor of the project. Hearing none. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to the project? You need to come to the podium and state your name and address. Well, my next one was going to be if you speak neither for or against.
Hello, my name's Anthony Creech. I'm a local business owner, East Wake Animal Hospital. I'm not here in opposition. I enjoy the competition, okay? But I do have some concerns that have slowly been addressed. You know, I have concerns about the traffic pattern. That little cut through at Green Pace Road, whoever counted 150 cars, they must have been on Sunday, because during the week, it is a disaster, okay? And I feel like even with the traffic signals, it's still, that cut through is still gonna be a mess. And I don't know, are they gonna have an entrance off that road? Is that gonna be where your dog walk area is? Does anybody know that? On Green Pace Road? The little cut through. Do you know, is that little cut through there? You know where Green Pace Road is? Okay, there's a little cut through there. Gets stacked up every morning, goes all the way around, okay? So, I don't know if people are gonna be turning in there, and this is me just trying to get to work. But, if people are turning in there, it'll never happen. And, I mean, it'll be backed up from corner to corner.
You're
So-
saying turning into the site from
Turn,
Green Pace?
off of Green Pace Road. Are you going to be able to turn in off Green Pace as well?
Yeah, they have a full access that they're proposing there. As part of this, when it gets to the construction plan review,
Yeah.
because Green Pace and Arundel are both DOT-maintained roads,
Right.
they'd be required to get driveway permits. And so if DOT congestion management had any issues, whether it's full access,
Yeah.
or limited left or something along those lines, that would be handled at that time.
Yeah.
But again, that is a DOT concern.
That's the way a lot of people go to work through that way. And I just can't see that working. I mean, but, I'm a local person. I've been going through there forever. And to stack it up like that, it's going to be a disaster. But, so, I mean, I guess DOT is going to work on that. The other concern that I have, and I don't know if anybody, are they going to continue to have residential lots behind that, like behind the animal hospital? Or are those going to get phased into commercial? Dallas, you might know that. Because I don't know if anybody's checked with them, but, to have an animal hospital in your backyard, I live it every day. And if somebody came and built an animal hospital in my backyard, I wouldn't be too happy. It's going to be loud. There's just no way around
We had
it.
a neighborhood meeting.
So, hopefully, I guess if it bothered them, they'd be here. But, I just, I feel like it's in a residential area still, so.
Yeah. So just to briefly touch on that, the future land use plan, which Kate is pulling up, lists the site specifically for this rezoning as a commercial site, while it still lists the area behind it
yeah.
in the SR,
Yeah.
the suburban residential.
Yep.
So that is the future land use calls for this stretch of 96 to be commercial, but obviously
Yeah.
that is a ever-changing document.
Yeah.
But that is the current plan.
So that 1, 2, 3 lot 4, those folks, I don't know, maybe they could work something out with them or what. I've talked to the kid on the corner, but, I don't see his value of his property maintaining like that with the, with the business in his backyard like that. But, I mean, I guess that's up to him. But, those 3 houses, I mean, that's going to be very close to their dog walk area. I would have concerns for those folks, to be honest with you. No concerns. So, all right? Thank you. Yep.
Did, the project staff, do they have any presentations that they would like to proceed at this time?
Can I ask a question while you're doing that?
Sorry for that. Yeah, I'm trying to answer the gentleman's question as well. We do not have a presentation prepared, and just want to acknowledge local business owners' concerns. Certainly, when we had our community meeting, everyone was noticed and notified of the meeting. We were in the neighborhood when we had the meeting. And we've also, the dog walk area does have a 6-foot opaque fence. Those are dogs and animals that are coming out of surgery. Those are the overnight animals. Those are the only animals that are ever let outside and walked. It's not a boarding facility. They're not walked out on the back property line or anything like that. They're kept inside that enclosed fence area, so.
Do you have a question, Mr.
What
Miles?
potential volume of animals are we talking about in that dog walk area?
One or 2 at a time only. That's, because of various, management strategies and things like that. It's not a significantly sized, it's not a very large size area. Yeah, they're always accompanied by a staff person as well. And currently the plan is 3 to 4 doctors at the hospital at one time. And that equates to probably another 10 to 15 staff persons along with them, so.
Thank you.
Did we have any questions or comments from a letter from any outside source or emails?
No, sir.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak for or against? Neither for or against.
Dallas Pierce, I live at 434 Rogers Road. Good evening, both planning and commissioners. Mr. Creech mentioned the houses at the rear of this proposed project. I don't know how familiar y'all are with the Wakefield area where he's talking about, but these houses are very old, very small. It would be a blessing for them to be zoned commercial so they would bring more money. I don't think, as the gentleman said here, we had a meeting and everybody was notified. We had no opposition from any resident that I'm aware of, and I was there. I don't see it being, other than possible traffic at DOT have to deal with, which that's an ongoing problem wherever you go. Anytime you have development, you're going to have road issues and traffic issues. That's part of the growth process. Also, rezoning is part of the growth process. The residual of properties before, behind, beside, in front of is part of the rezoning and growth process. We can't change everything, but we do allow and need good growth. This is a good project. These people have been here for probably 20 years, right down the street. They're good industry. We ought to embrace them and be glad they're staying in Zebulon, I hope. Thank you.
Any other comments?
One quick question for Kate.
Commissioner Miles?
Kate, I have one quick question. They didn't reach the threshold for the 50 trips. Is that what I meant for the no TIA? Is that what I'm to understand?
Yeah, so I can clarify what that threshold is. So it's 50 trips at peak hour for this business. So that would be people coming to bring their animals to this business and or leaving the business. And then as well, the 150 threshold is the trips per day. So that's the total number of trips at the animal hospital per day. So that's going to or from. So that includes both staff as well as customers.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Comments?
I'd just like to bring to my other commissioner attention that the current work that we're doing now is for the volume of traffic. That is one of the busiest intersections that we have. So I just want to bring that to our attention. That is one of the busiest ones we have.
Any other questions, comments from either board? You need to come back to the podium again, sir. you need to come to the podium.
Sir, hang on, just before you ask.
Yes.
We welcome your comments.
Sure.
It's not really the forum for like a Q&A. So if you're,
I'm sorry, say that
it
again?
is not really the forum for a question and answer.
Okay.
So if you have comments.
When is that
on-
one?
What is that?
When is going to be the one for the question and answer?
Speaking to town staff at any opportunity that you'd like.
Okay.
But this is really for
Okay,
comments that
that's
you
fine.
have on this application.
All right, that's good. You want me to ask a question? You want me to sit down? Either way.
What you're going to say.
I was just asking, is there going to be any boarding at this facility? Or is it just going to be, yeah, okay, yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else? Hearing none? If there's no one else who wishes to speak, I will close the public hearing and refer this matter to the planning board for consideration. Now, is there?
I move to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn, second by Commissioner Clark. All in favor? Motion adjourned. Meeting adjourned. I'm confused.
It's all right.
You've been up a long time.
You got that right. And they ain't had no nap.
I was gonna say, you missed your nap.
Ain't had no nap. Couldn't get it.